Hello, princesses, and welcome back to Not Fit for Print Beauty with me, Rebecca. Today is a day that I know I have been looking forward to and anticipating and preparing for, well, for an entire month. You see, last month, January, was Not Fit for Print Beauty Foundation Month. Let it rain with virtual confetti. It was a month in which we had, a lot of new foundations and primers released. I got most of them, but I admit I didn't get all of them. I mean, e.l.f. had some releases, and there were a few others that kind of weren't in my realm, so I didn't get all of them, but I got as many as I could. We covered in 1 month 18 new foundations and primers, literally 18. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't have a foundation released, like tomorrow, and I'll go, darn. But in the month of January, all of these were released, with the exception of one that came out the last few days of December. So it kind of grandfathered that in to January. Other than that, these were all released during January. So it was kind of January release foundation month. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to go over all 18 of them and talk about what their good and bad points were. Plus, I have them all linked below. I have my original reviews linked below so that you can see demos and things like that. So you can buy it off the links below. You can see demos off the links below. And then we are also, after that, going to talk about some best ofs and worst ofs within those categories. We have with us today our Dr. Pepper Zero. No, I'm not sponsored, but it is a dream of mine. I'm kidding. Okay, so let's get started. Let's start first by talking about each of these 18 products. I'll be as quick as I can about it because the videos linked below go much more in depth. That way then we can push that aside and get right into ranking our best. Okay. Of the primers, the big release for the month of January was the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer. It did not replace the first Hourglass primer. It is just in addition to, it is not limited edition, however. I feel that this product, which is a kind of liquefied powder, I really like it. I really like it for oily and normal skin. I really like it as a very smoothing base. I found something funny that I mentioned in one of the videos when I was testing it on something last month. It actually, when I had it on my hands and put it on my face, I went to go answer something on my phone, and I actually literally could not get the touch screen to work. So I don't know if it covers fingerprints or what. I have mentioned this in another video, but it just really obviously smooths things. And I think it's quite nice under foundation, under any foundation. Many of you agreed with me. Some of you disagreed only in the fact that those of you who really, really love the Tatcha primers, one in the putty form or the liquid form, still like those over this. That hasn't made my Tatcha fans convert. But I really like this Hourglass primer, and I think it works well under any foundation. Original video linked below. We also had 4 different releases from Smashbox. Smashbox has had their photo finish primer forever. We go into the history of it in the original video, but they re-released 4 of them. They changed some of the polymers and whatnot inside. They have this one that I'm holding up, which is the color corrector, but they also have one for those of you with oilier complexions that mattifies and is anti-shine. They have an Illuminate one, which I really love, and I'm actually wearing under my foundation today. And then they have an illumination that combines itself with a hydrator for those of you with dry skin that want even more hydration. They also release these in the larger, and as you see, smaller size. These little mini sizes are only like $14 or something. So you really feel like you can try the product and get everything out of it without having spent too much money. That's really nice. We're going to talk about these a little later in the video as I talk about what I think they combine with the best. Let's talk about the foundations themselves now, as that is the bulk of our video. Full coverage foundation, we didn't have too many. This was a month, last month, of a lot of medium coverage and light coverage foundation. So we didn't have a lot of full coverage, but one thing that will count as full coverage really are the only 2 powder foundations that were released in the month of January. The first being the bareMinerals BAREPRO. I got mine in the light 25 neutral shade. Again, the original video linked below, but this is a really cool one because it has it has a mirror, as you see, and then it also has 2 little pouches. So if you choose to use or slots, I should say, if you choose to use the included pad, it doesn't get all grimy on the pressed powder. This is an excellent, excellent powder foundation, an excellent full coverage foundation. bareMinerals knows what they're doing with either pressed or loose powder. I feel they're a brand we can trust in this capacity, and it is a very, very good one. The other powder foundation we looked at is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Gem Foundation, in which I purchased the 20N Light Neutral. This I did not like. You guys really liked it on me. I did not like this on bare skin, but when I put it with a primer, I absolutely loved it, and we'll be talking about that a little later. This is a very pretty foundation. In my estimation, it does need something underneath it in the way of primer. The bareMinerals works either way. So this one I think does, and because it is a loose powder, I suppose the same thing with the pressed powder. It also depends on your delivery mechanism. So it depends on whether you use a very, very fluffy brush, which would give you a lighter application, or a dense brush, which would give you a or even a pad, which would give you a much more full coverage look. It is very, very pretty though, but we'll talk about the better of those two when we get into our rankings. Let's get into the medium coverage foundation, which I think might be the bulk of our offerings for this month. The first being the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful foundation, and I'm holding it up in 2 shades, and I have to be careful because whenever I talk about these foundations, I tend to be like an air traffic controller with them. I don't know why. There's no reason. Okay, this is a beautiful foundation. I will start with recapping what we've all been saying for a month. My goodness, what shade am I? These are the kookiest shades. I said in comments a few times that I feel as if the Charlotte Tilbury folks took a piece of chalk, drew a circle on the ground, threw the foundations in the air, and what landed in the circle got to be warm, what landed outside the circle got to be cool, and then they picked a few and made them neutral. I'm joking, of course, but not far off the mark there. The shades were weird, but the undertones were weirder. I originally bought this 5 neutral and 6 neutral. The 6 neutral was warmer than this 4 warm. So I bought the 5 neutral and the 6 neutral, you'll see in the video, and I'll include the follow-up video that I did afterwards. They were both the 5 neutral was a little too olive, and the 6 neutral was a little too warm and dark. They matched me in store. I went to Nordstrom and actually got the Charlotte Tilbury specialist who was in that day, and she matched me to 4 warm. I have never been warm in a foundation maybe since I was 16 and got a lot of sunshine, and yet the 4 warm is cooler than the 6 neutral. I wish there were like some sort of an algorithm or something that I could explain it with. There's no explaining, and your stories and comments have been just as silly with what you matched with. They have an online tool that matches, and that was crazy too. I think that put me as a 9. And like I said, you guys out there have some similar stories. It put me all across the map. And I think the only way to get your correct shade in the Charlotte Tilbury is to either get really lucky or go in store and get matched. Although I think people have had pretty good success doing the online consultation, as long as your lighting is good and you're not wearing any makeup at the time. That would throw off the person looking at your skin. Is it a good foundation? It's a better foundation if you get the right shade. I know that seems an obviosity, but it's not really. When I wore the 5N, it was very passable. When I got the 4W and it was the right shade for me, I liked the foundation immensely more. Even a small tweak on the shade will make you like it more. But the whole experience isn't going to make me rank it very high, including a whole bit of brand trust, which is I obviously love Charlotte Tilbury. Her Hollywood Flawless Filter is one of my favorite complexion products ever, but it's the exception that makes the rule. I don't tend to love her complexion products, and so this kind of gets lumped in with it. Also, I just felt the whole experience of choosing it was a bit of a schlep. So I love it. I really do, but it's not going to win anything. I'll tell you right now. Okay, here was the one that was grandfathered in from late December, and that is the another medium coverage Tarte. This is their Shape Tape Cloud foundation. It is medium coverage. I wear a 29N light medium neutral. Got the shade right, I think. It's a beautiful foundation. I wanted to include it because, like I said, it came in at the end of December. It's nothing super special, but it's extremely pretty, extremely affordable. Tarte makes a good foundation. If you are someone who runs through foundations a lot and is sick of shelling out for Chanel foundation, try a Tarte foundation. They're kind of, I often say this, I borrow the British expression, they're cheap and cheerful. I mean, it's not like drugstore cheap, but it's affordable and they're really pretty. They're very flattering. So I wanted to include that in here. And again, the original video will be below. I have no complaints about it. It's not especially exciting or like touted by influencers, but I mean, it's a good, if you like the Shape Tape concealer, and I don't actually, but I love this foundation. I really do. Moving on. All right. Dior. Dior took a good thing and kind of messed it up. They reformulated their Dior Forever foundation. So we have the Dior Forever Matte and we have the Dior Forever Glow. I got the Matte in 2.5 and the Glow in 2.0 just because I wanted to play with the colors. 2.5 seems a little bit better. Both are very passable and adequate, but we will talk a little later. This matte one changed forever when I paired it up with the right primer. But are these good foundations? Yes. Did Dior need to mess with them? No. Are they amazing? No. Would I recommend them, say, over the Tarte Shape Tape Cloud? No, this is better. This is better and cheaper. So the Dior they're perfectly acceptable. If you bought them, you like them. But they do kind of sink into lines towards the end of the day. But I will tell you something with the matte that changed my perspective, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I wear mine in the shade Duville. I really screwed up on this. I got matched in store. I had ordered 4 different shades from Sephora because I was like, I'll be one of these. And I got matched in store, and it was a totally different shade. Honestly, this month has proven to me that what I thought I knew about my skin and foundations was wrong. This is a lovely foundation. It has no scent to it. I don't think we have any fragranced ones yet so far. We haven't gotten to Chanel yet. The NARS foundation is beautiful. It doesn't sink into lines. It's a perfectly adequate medium coverage, but buildable. Like I said, no fragrance. It stays and lasts a long time. It's going to get an interesting award for me at the end, which might surprise you. A beautiful foundation. See the original review below. That brings us to the #1 de Chanel, brand new Chanel foundation. I have this foundation in 2 shades. I bought it in the B20 and the BR22. The B20 was my guess off of Ulta, and the BR22 was what they matched me with. I am wearing it today, the BR22, on my face with the Smashbox illuminating primer underneath. An interesting thing about Chanel. So I went to Chanel to get the BR22 and they gave me a black and white box with a black ribbon and samples and crisp tissue paper that they kind of fold over the edge of a table. So it's very crisp and beautiful. And you do leave Chanel feeling that luxury experience. I got it home. The next day I received my package from Ulta. I have a video of it. I deleted off my phone because it kind of felt like a little bit of a hit piece. I know I'm telling you about it now, but that's still different than seeing it. It arrived from Ulta in a dirtied, padded bubble envelope. And maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of the video, but I did. The box that the foundation was in was totally smashed. The foundation wasn't smashed, but the box it was in was smashed. And I just thought, ooh, same price. $70 for the foundation or whatever. And the way it was delivered from Ulta and the way it is delivered when you go to a Chanel boutique or even order from Chanel online, viva la différence. It was, I was fine with it. You open the product, you use it. I'm not that much of a snob. I honestly am not. But I just thought, is Chanel okay? Is Mademoiselle on her stomach, you know, in the grape? I don't know. I'm not judging or critiquing. I'm just noting. And many people have told me that was not their experience ordering it through Ulta. And I love me the Ulta. So I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying I noticed the difference and found it of interest. That's all I'm saying. This is a beautiful foundation. Again, I did fine with the B20. But when in store they matched me with the BR22, the difference was like an Ulta delivery versus a Chanel delivery. All of a sudden I liked it so much more. The BR22 just covered up my redness. I do have a bit of a ruddy little face, and it covered that up so much better, and I enjoyed it. I like it because it's medium, but it's a bit of a light medium, but buildable. The only issue we have with Chanel, as I mentioned a minute ago, is fragrance. This will hit you with a burst of shocking fragrance when you first put it on. If you are fragrance averse, you will be quite shocked. However, I forgive Chanel because they're Chanel, number one. But number two, I forgive them because it's high quality fragrance. Like when Tarte has a fragrance, when certain brands have a fragrance, it's like, what chemical is this? But Chanel is also a perfume house. So when they have a fragrance, you know it's at least high quality stuff. I might be talking out of my ear here, but stay with me. And it definitely dissipates very quickly. But I must warn you that if you don't like fragrance, it is in there. The other half, really, of the foundations on our list are light to maybe light medium. Let's say actually light coverage. We have a lot of moisturizers, skin tints, things like that. The first was the Caliray Freedreaming. I wore mine in the shade the 4. I did not like this at all. I tried it a million different ways. I have the video below. I felt horrible about it because they're a good brand, started by Wendy from Urban Decay. They're a good brand. And I know that their lip products and mascaras are great. To me, this was a fail. Reminded me very much of the Fenty Easy Drops, which was controversial. You either loved or you hated. And I feel the same goes for this product. I felt it was patchy, no matter how I applied it and no matter how much of it I applied. I don't appreciate it. Some do. There's some good reviews out there. I am not going to be one of them. I don't like it. Jaclyn Hill, of course, had her blurring tint here. I wear that in a light medium. This isn't a bad product, but it's not a good one either. I do not agree with dogpiling on Jaclyn Hill. It's not a brand I generally review because there's some drama always surrounding it, and I don't have time for that. But because it was during foundation month, it seemed to fit. It's not a great product. I used it as a primer also, which a lot of people say it works better as. I like the primers I reviewed better than this as a primer. I don't think it was worth it when I used it as a primer or that it helped or made a difference. It is not a bad product. If you have it, you'll enjoy it well enough and use it, and you probably won't buy it again. It's just not good enough to rave about, but it's not bad enough to attack in order to get views either. I'm just being honest with you. This was a really, really good one. The Shiseido Syncho Skin Self-Refreshing Tint. I wore it in 225 Light Magnolia. If you liked the Syncho Skin Self-Refreshing Medium Coverage Foundation from quite a few seasons ago, I think you would really like this one. It's beautiful. It has just the right amount of tint. It's easy to put on. It's nice and creamy. It wears really easily. Highly, highly recommend. Shiseido makes a nice product anyway with this kind of a thing. Very, very pretty. Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Light Revealer. I got mine in 2N1 Nude. This is a very nice product. It's really just another version of Laura Mercier's favorite famous tinted moisturizer. This brand wrote the book on tinted moisturizers. If you are a tinted moisturizer lover, you have tried them, you swear by it. There's 20 different versions. Some of them come in and out are limited edition. I'm guessing this one might be limited edition, and the regular and the oil-free are always around to pick up. I think these are really fun, really good, really nice, and that's it. I am never attracted to Laura Mercier tinted moisturizer, so I am not a good one to ask. I'm always like, I don't know why. Laura Mercier makes those caviar sticks that are really nice too for the eyes, and I'm always like, I do not know why Laura Mercier is a brand that has eluded me, and I've reviewed their products a lot, and obviously Laura Mercier, a wonderful makeup artist, etc., etc. I'm always kind of, I mean, it's fun and all, but I was kind of bored. I'm just like, it's just another Laura. It's a very good, reliable product, and I just feel like it's like buying cucumbers at the grocery store. They're going to be good. You're going to cut them up. They're going to be crunchy in your salad. This is the cucumber of light foundations. I like cucumbers. I like Laura Mercier. That's all I'm saying. And then one of the stars of our show today, the Rose Inc Skin Enhanced Luminous Tinted Serum. I ordered this in the shade 40, which is a light medium neutral. And lately, because I have apparently avoided the sun for all of this pandemic, I have become lighter and lighter and lighter, fading from view. So I was nervous ordering the light medium, which is what I usually would be. I'm certainly not a medium. This was 2 shades too light in the 40. It's still here so I could hold it up for this video, but I have organized an exchange where I have the shipping label. I'm going to send it back. And I just went with, this is probably 2 shades too light, but I only went 1 shade up because I actually liked this. You'll see in the photos, I actually liked this when I bronzed it up. So I didn't want to go overboard and go 2 shades too dark. Plus medium, I'm just not, look at me, I'm not medium. And the next shade up already was a medium. So I'm like 2 shades into medium? Come on, no way, who am I? So I went 1 shade up. So I went with a lot of people asked me what I am exchanging it for. This is the 40, and it was just 2 shades too light, so I went with the 50, and it should be here tomorrow, so I'll be wearing it in a video, and I'll update you, and I'll let you know, and I have to send this one back, so I've got to kind of make a decision, but I do know this one's too light. I will say this, so order darker than you normally would, but it does oxidize a fair bit. This didn't oxidize enough, but it does. So before you make your decision, if you purchase the Rose Inc, let it sit on your face for a few minutes first, and see what you think then. Okay, and with the rest of your makeup on, because it does get a bit darker. And of course you'll see if you click on the original video, this is very much like the Chanel Les Beiges Water Fresh tint, which is just that they are little kind of capsule beads of pigment suspended in a watery substance. And you have to break them up and then you can put them on your face. And the way I described this to one of you, I think it was Audra actually, we were talking about the difference between this and this. This almost feels like a toner that you would put on your face, or a essence. It's very light and watery. And this definitely feels like a light moisturizing cream. So it's kind of also a difference in texture, and you might have a preference with texture there as well. Okay, so believe it or not, that was all 18. So let's get to some favorites and fails. The fails are quite obvious, and I'll be quick about it because I do not delight in a funeral, but the fails are, of course, the Caliray and the Jaclyn Hill. For me, you are free to disagree. I don't start fights with anyone. I love the dialogue. The Jaclyn Hill isn't bad, but isn't good. The Caliray, I think, is absolutely terrible. This product only. They're not a bad company. The rest of the products up here are very darn good. The best powder foundation has got to go to bareMinerals, so it will absolutely win for our full coverage. It's just a really nice full coverage product. And a lot of you will only wear full coverage foundation. Invest your money in bareMinerals. They know what they're doing. It's a good foundation. It's not going to win any other huge awards for me because I'm not a full coverage type lady. I should be, because I get more compliments when I wear full coverage, and I should probably take the hint. But that is the best of the full coverage that we have up here. Best combination, I think, is, and for me this made it come to life, is the Tarte Gem with the HG, the Hourglass primer underneath this. This needs a primer to stick with if you're going to go with this loose foundation. One thing I didn't say, by the way, that got a lot of criticism from you guys, I understand, is that this doesn't travel well because it's loose, so it's a mess. And it is a mess. The dispenser is a mess, everything. Whereas, you know, if you're going with a powder foundation, bareMinerals, this bareMinerals is pressed. So it does travel in your bag much nicer. This makes a mess. But I also think this loose powder comes to life when you put a primer underneath it. So that's one of my best combos. The other of my best combos, you guys, is, believe it or not, I never thought I'd be saying this, the newly reformulated Dior Matte with the, this is the one that corrects redness, but the illuminating one, the illuminating Smashbox, is honestly, in my opinion, giving my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter a run for its money. And the illuminating version of this, not this one, this is the color correcting, but the illuminating version of this underneath the matte Dior is like a match made in heaven for my normal skin, or if you have dry skin, because it allows this to remain matte, but it gives it a little bit of slip underneath. And so it sits on the skin really nicely and doesn't sink into lines because it has that movability. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but rather than going right into the skin, it kind of slips around on the skin. I don't mean like it comes off or slides down your face or it's not there when you, just a little bit of movement for this very matte foundation. And I think it's actually really nice. And I've started to wear this a ton as long as I have that Smashbox illuminating primer underneath it. So if you have this and like it but don't love it, the matte Dior, try that and let me know what your thoughts are, because it was revolutionary for me. Now, let's go to the best medium coverage foundation. And this is where this is going to get tricky, and I'm going to start probably some dialogue in the comment section. All right, my personal favorite in the medium coverage is by far the Chanel. There's just nothing wrong with it except for that burst of fragrance at the beginning, which I lamely explained away when we were talking about Chanel. I just think it sits on the face beautifully, even with the shade that I didn't get perfect. I just love it. I'm wearing it right now. I just think it's flattering. It's not too much coverage. It's not too little coverage, and it's beautiful. The only drawback is that fragrance whiff at the beginning and the price. It's steep because it's a Chanel. But if you really want to get a beautiful foundation that does it all, of the medium coverage, the Chanel is my favorite. If I had to pick one of these to wear every day, it would be this one. Okay. But that doesn't mean it gets my best award. Now, let's talk about the light foundation. Who was it? Raise your hand in comments. Oh, how do I forget these things? One of you lovely, brilliant geniuses out there in comments yesterday made such a great comment. It was yesterday or the other day about the difference between a tinted moisturizer and a fuller coverage foundation. And I thought it was just the most brilliant thing to notice. She was saying that when she puts on a tint or a tinted moisturizer, it's just kind of a fresh look, and she can put some makeup on or just throw some lipstick on or a little bit of mascara and go. But she said when she puts on a medium to full coverage foundation, it's a canvas that feels like it requires more makeup. And I thought that was such a brilliant observation. Have you ever put on a medium to fuller coverage foundation and you kind of look in the mirror and go, because it's like somebody has washed out your face, because it's a palette now that's ready for the makeup. And I thought it was great because it's so true. If you just throw on a tint, it just freshens you up. If you throw on a full foundation, you better get the rest of your makeup in order. And I thought that is so true. I don't think I would put on a full face of this Chanel with just a little bit of lip tint and some mascara. I don't think it would work. You need a light coverage for that. So my favorite light coverage, you can probably guess, is the brand new Rose Ink skin tint, or skin serum as they call it on the bottle. I bought the wrong color and I still love it. I have returned it because I haven't worn it because I got to exchange it, and I'm a very ethical creature. But I want to, even though it's the wrong shade. It's beautiful. It's got a little more coverage. You'll see if you've seen my original review or click on my original review. It's got a little more coverage than the Chanel Les Beiges Water Fresh tint. Just a little bit, and it's fresh, and it's suspended in a water-like substance, so it's just easy to put on, and it just doesn't sink in anywhere because there's nothing to sink in, and it's just the right amount of it's a beautiful foundation. So this is really one of my favorites and definitely wins for my best light coverage. Now let's talk about best overall. You're going to think I'm going with the Chanel. I'm not. Let me throw a wrench into the things, or a spanner into things. Have you ever been watching the Oscars and something wins for Best Director but then doesn't win for Best Picture? Or wins for Best Picture but hadn't won for Best Director, and it can leave you a slight bit confused. I'm kind of doing one of those here, okay? I am going to pick one foundation in all of this that I think suits everyone's needs. So no fragrance. That means my Chanel is out because it does have a fragrance, and some of you don't care if it dissipates. You cannot have a fragrance. I'm not going to pick one of the light foundations that are here in front of me because some of you have said to me, Rebecca, I need a little bit more coverage. I got some hyperpigmentation. I got this, that, and the other. I'm sorry. I need to hide behind a little more coverage. So the light ones are out. It's not a powder foundation because not everybody likes a powder foundation or how it applies. So it is one of our medium coverage foundations. It is a medium coverage foundation that is a straight up medium coverage that does not sink into lines, that does not require a primer, but still looks great with the one that lasts all day, that is flattering, that is easy enough to get somewhere to make your mark or to make your match. To use their online foundation suggestions that are generally spot on. That's right. We're giving the award for the best overall foundation to a bit of a dark horse. I didn't talk about it much. I didn't rave about it much, but it's just reliable. And that's the NARS. It might not be the one that I would pick, but I can forgive the Chanel fragrance. It might not be the one that I would pick for light, but I don't mind light coverage. But if you are just looking for an everyday, reliable, good, medium, buildable, no scent, isn't going to sink into lines, this just checks all the boxes. This NARS foundation is a wonderful one. NARS has released so many wonderful foundations. They have a color corrector stick out there that I love, even as a concealer. They are just knocking it out of the park last year anyway, and hopefully into this year. So this one is my winner for the best overall, taking everything into consideration, suggestion for you. Because everyone wanted my suggestion that will suit everyone. This one will suit everyone. But you also heard my suggestions along the way for others. Now, if you have a rebuttal or if you agree or disagree, put it in the comments below. I want to hear what you have to say. And if you have any questions, you know I'll get back to you. I hear from Sarah up in Canada that they are still deleting my comments and they target certain accounts. So there's some of you that I pull out of spam. Same folks all the time. I don't mind. I'm glad to see you and pull you out and rescue you. And like on Sarah's, it just deletes them. It's such a disappointment. So if I don't get back to you, please try me again or try me on Instagram. If I do not get back to you, it literally means I did not delete your comment, but it means that YouTube, for some reason, did. And you probably know about it because they tend to do it over and over to the same accounts. So at any rate, if you don't hear back from me, it is not on purpose. Hit me up again. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. It's such a blast with you guys this last month doing Not Fit for Print Beauty Foundation Month! Okay, it was a really, really good time. Lots of new content and good stuff coming up, though, throughout this year. And here we go into the rest of February. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I sure hope that you did. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It's the greatest compliment that you can give me to click that subscription button and the bell so that I can see all of you in the next video.